Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap, a walk-off win edition of Cubs on Tap. Cubs have gone fishing for walk-offs. I am Ron Luce, joined tonight by the great Mr. Rich Eberwine. Rich, I don't know about you, man. We were talking in the pre-show, and I don't think it totally did everything justice. This game was weird in a lot of ways. I'm still processing the walk-off win in the bottom of the ninth, genuinely, because I listened on the radio. I watched early in the day. I was, that 4-2 was drilled into my brain. I'm like, all right, well, going for the rubber match tomorrow. Rich, I know you can relate to this. I started writing the recap for a 4-2 loss, not a 5-4 walk-off. And I am still processing what just happened at the bottom of the ninth, but it was incredible because, like they say here, go Cubs. Nico We-Go is a vibe. It is. Yo, we're writing some apology letters. And way to go, Cubbies. Rich, first off, how you doing, buddy? And second off, have you processed what just happened?
I'm overstimulated. I mean, that was that was insane. You know, like you said, it looks like one of those just like stagnant days for the offense, 4-2 heading into the ninth inning. You said it in the pregame, like you like tuned in. You're like, all right, ready for this 1-2-3 ninth inning. But man, they tapped into that Cubs magic once again. Carson Kelly got it going. They just strung together a nice inning, played small ball a little bit. Speed won them that game. It was just awesome. Justin Turner finally comes through in a big spot, delivers his first extra base hit as a Cub as a walk-off double in the ninth inning to take another series for the Cubs to avoid a rubber match against the last place Miami Marlins. Just things you love to see as a Cubs fan. You just love to see shit like that. It was awesome.
You really do, too, because on top of it, this season has been so fun because they continue to win and find ways to win like they did tonight, despite the amount of adversity this team has faced already, right? No Ian Happ. He goes on the 10-day IL. It feels more precautionary than anything, which I think is the right move long-term. Gives us a chance to see Moises Ballesteros, which obviously we're going to dive a little deeper into as the show progresses. But then all of a sudden, you know, you don't have Shota Imanaga. You don't have Justin Steele. You got a bullpen that is suspect at best, we'll call it. And yet, this team finds ways to just get it done and win ball games. And to do it against Cubs legend Jesus Tinoco might make it that much better.
We're sitting here in the pregame show, folks, and Ron just goes, Tinoco was Cub last year, right? I was like, no way he was there. I don't remember that at all. I watch and follow like every single Cubs game since they won the World Series, and this man pulled Jesus Tinoco was a Cub out of his ass, and he was correct. He was correct. Jesus Tinoco pitched 2 games for the Cubs last year, total of 4 innings, was DFA'd 10 days after they acquired him.
Sure
Look
was.
at that. Look at
Jesus
that,
Tinoco, Cubs legend.
Ron,
See?
Out here just pulling names.
Hey, sicko brain. It's all about the sicko brain. My dad says, ye of little faith. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, second game of series haven't treated the Cubs very well. So I think it's just a, what's the term I'm looking for? A habitual pattern that I've just come to accept, I guess, for lack of a better term. Scott says here that some say that Juice might have started the wave at Wrigley. Good Juice was at the game this evening. He's not one of them, but credit to Juice for calling it out to propel the Cubs to a win. 100% called out on X. Yeah. A lot of other people chimed in.
We would have lost that game if the wave wasn't properly called out and shamed on.
100%. 100%. And Scott says here, the Marlins started the ninth with a 93.2% chance of winning that game. Well, just like the Dallas Mavericks can take a 1.8% chance and win the NBA lottery, the Cubs can take that 6.8% chance and win a baseball game. And that's exactly what they did tonight. And Rich, I mean, this is our first show in quite some time. It's been a while, right? Obviously, With Sunday, there was no Mother's Day show. There was no show from us on Thursday. So it's been a full week since people have heard from us. Obviously, the Cubs went on to lose that Giants series. It sucked. It is what it is. They go on to lose the Mets series. It sucked. It is what it is, despite getting to see Cade Horton on the mound over the weekend to make his major league debut. But then they've done exactly what they needed to do. This is the stretch where they need to take advantage.
Yeah.
A really healthy win on Monday night. A Drew Pomeranz save, his first as a Cub. Colin Ray. And then tonight's magic to cap it off. How about Nico Horner getting to score the game-winning run on his birthday, too? That's got to be pretty cool, right?
Just the story writes itself, That's just awesome.
It really does. It really, really does. And just a good night overall. I mean, obviously, Pete Crow-Armstrong, a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs for him as well. Don't let Ron Luce get hot in the dinger picks, folks. I'm telling you right now. Don't let me get hot, because if I get hot, I'm going to be creeping up on some people, even though Bobby had the weekend of all weekends of picking dinger picks.
Bobby raked over the weekend, but
he really did.
You had like 2 a week ago, or like a week and a half ago, right? Now you got
we doubled that
now.
Since
6 or 4 now. 5.
We're up to 4. We're up to 4. We're slowly coming back. We're slowly coming back here and giving it a quick chance. A good point here from Scott. Let's just get into the Moises Ballesteros game, shall we? Because that was the big storyline, obviously, coming into this game here tonight. Ballesteros called up in place of Ian Happ. Tyson Miller is moved over to the 60-day IL, so there's no corresponding roster move in terms of a DFA or anything like that. Despite not getting a hit tonight in his debut, I agree with this wholeheartedly. You have to credit him for beating out that double play in the 9th inning. Because despite the kind of awkward, just weird throw, I guess, to second that maybe gave him that half a second longer to get down the first base line. Good work by him to hustle and say, you know what, my bad for putting the ball on the ground, but at least it's not going to be 2 outs.
Yeah.
That arguably could have ended the game and really killed any kind of momentum the Cubs would have had he not beat that out.
Yeah, that's a big play for sure. I mean, no hustle there. You got like a demoralizing double play, and then you only have the chance to tie the game, basically, or not as much of a chance to score the winning run, right? So yeah, definitely credit to Moises. A lot of parallels with Kyle Schwarber happening with Moises Ballesteros. I have to say that reminded me of when he got the base hit in Game 7 of the World Series, and they pinch run for him, and then Albert Almora came in and score. He's a catcher who's not that good at catching. He's a left-handed power hitter who's just basically a DH. And I feel like at some point they're going to teach him how to play like left or right field, just to like give him a little bit more versatility, because he can't really play first base either since he's only 5'8". But they're giving him a shot with the bat right now, and I think it was kind of the perfect opportunity since Seiya Suzuki is needed in the outfield with Ian Happ out. Just see what Moises Ballesteros can give you right now in this little stretch. And it sounds like Ian Happ isn't going to be out for too long, but you also never know with oblique injuries, as we saw with Javier Assad. He was on his way to coming back and then suffered a setback, and it's like, oh, he's out for 2 months. It's a little bit different with pitchers, and hitters maybe can come back quicker from that stuff, but still, obliques are finicky. And, I think this is just like something that I underestimated coming into this season. It's like the fact that you have all these top prospects, right? 7 guys in the top 100. Yeah. I think just instinctively, I've always kind of thought of those guys as trade chips. But now you're seeing these guys come up, and you're like, oh yeah, it is kind of nice that when a guy like Ian Happ goes down, you have like a top 100 prospect who is raking in the minor leagues coming up. When Shota Imanaga gets hurt, you have a guy, Cade Horton, who, I was not expecting Cade Horton to have the prowess and maturity that he showed in that game against the Mets. He looks and acts like a major league pitcher, like a veteran. Which is very encouraging considering they're going to need him to start a few games here in the month of May and maybe into June a little bit. he looks ready to just be a contributor right now. Obviously, it was one outing, but he attacked the strike zone against an insanely good lineup, like against some of the best hitters in baseball, right? A couple of future Hall of Famers, arguably, right?
Yeah.
And he did it on the road in front of 40,000 Mets fans. Like, that was an impressive outing for Cade Horton. So it's kind of nice to have these top prospects just waiting in the weeds and ready to contribute. It's exciting.
And I think on top of that, Rich, obviously we as Cubs fans don't want to watch this team lose meaningful pieces, right? You don't want to see them lose a Justin Steele for the whole season, or a Shohei Imanaga for any length of time, or an Ian Happ for any length of time for that matter. But with those adversities comes opportunity for other players. And it's, to your point, refreshing not seeing them just, call up the habitual fourth outfielder that shuttles back and forth between Iowa and Chicago, which we saw, right, at times.
Like a Mark Zagunis type of.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that is the perfect player.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what those type of guys that they've historically had, right? And that's what they've historically done. The Miles Mastrobonis of yesteryear. Like, that was what the Cubs did. Now, it's also a little bit of a reward to some of these guys. Hey, you've been playing well. You've been pitching well. You've been hitting well at the minor league level. Here's that cup of coffee in the major leagues. This is your opportunity not only to prove that you should stick, but also to say, hey, you earned this. Like, you've been doing well. You've been doing what we've asked you to do. You've improved in what you're doing, and getting that call means everything to those guys, right? You saw Moises Ballesteros talk about wanting to throw his controller because he was playing MLB The Show when he got the alert that today was the day that he was going to make his major league debut. I think that's really cool to see. And to your point with Cade Horton, like, yeah, it wasn't the storybook, debut by any means, but a very good debut nonetheless against a very good team in a very difficult environment to pitch. So, when he inevitably makes his next appearance, probably in the upcoming White Sox series over the weekend at Wrigley Field, it's going to be a whole different beast, and maybe he does have a little bit of that storybook outing that people are hoping to see from a guy who very well could be a huge part of the near-term future for this team, especially if,
near-term and long-term future of the team.
Exactly. So it really is nice to see. Scott here with another comment relating to Ballesteros. He says Bally's at-bats didn't look bad. Just a bit of a timing issue jumping from AAA to the majors. Certainly, right? I mean, guys throw a very notable tick harder at the major league level. I mean, you've seen everything that anybody has said about this Cubs minor league system. That Ballesteros, his bat is just, the dude hits. Like, that's what he does. Maybe he's not the 40 homer type guy that I think people want him to be, but I think he's the type of guy that can be that, 300 hitter, 15 to 20 pretty regularly. Maybe he, surprises you and hits closer to 25, 30, but he's just going to hit. And I'll take a guy that can just rake and get on base, even at 5'8", like Moises Ballesteros is, because you're going to need those guys. And again, maybe this is Ballesteros's, showcase to other teams too, of being like, hey, do you want to make a deal with the Cubs? I can hit, man. You can put me in the lineup every day as a DH and let me hit. Or if you're the Cubs, he's a valuable piece to have right now, given the way that this season's gone with injuries to very notable key players so far, and especially most recently now with Ian Happ when it's all said and done. But Rich, I think too, but this game tonight, 6 hits for the Cubs in this whole game, but taking care of business when they needed to. It was good to see PCA get another homer. And I feel like, too, everybody was hoping that, like, PCA was going to be good this year. I was not expecting PCA to be this good this year. Like, he leads the Cubs in home runs, which, first off, didn't expect to be saying that as of May 13th. Alex Cohen put it beautifully in one of his tweets tonight. He said something along the lines of, Pete Crow Armstrong leads the Chicago Cubs with 11 home runs. It's May 13th. He's also the best defensive player in baseball, statistically speaking. Like, this is fun. It is fun. It is fun having PCA as a weapon. And I think what's even more fun about that, Rich, is, you heard him talk a little bit about hitting the 7th spot and being able to kind of hide there. And based on necessity, he's had to move up the lineup. It looks like a natural progression for him to now move up the lineup and be a part of, the big 4 to 5 guys that hit 1 through 5. And now almost kind of graduating from that 7th spot and letting a guy like Moises Ballesteros get a look there. Or maybe we'll see a Matt Shaw get a look there again down the road. Seeing these guys continue to take that next step has been huge. But with PCA, I mean, a step doesn't even quite quantify it, in my opinion. I don't know about you.
I think he's, more accurately taking a leap forward. And I was skeptical about moving him up to the number 1 spot initially, but now I'm starting to think that might be exactly what he needed, because the one flaw that he's had at the plate this year is that he's chasing a lot and not taking enough walks. And I think moving him up to the 1 spot, and tonight I think it was a good example of this, he was a lot more selective. He's taking more pitches that you would expect him to swing at usually. Just like close pitches that are just outside the strike zone that he would normally swing at. Maybe in early April, he's letting go a little bit more. So maybe it was exactly what he needed, because that's the area that he needed to refine the most. And he's still hitting, right? He got a couple hits tonight, another home run. I think he got a hit yesterday as well out of the leadoff spot. And that's totally fine. When Ian Happ comes back, our counsel already said that he's going to move Pico Armstrong back down, or Happ is going to go back into the leadoff spot or whatever. But this is a nice opportunity for Pico Armstrong to just refine that part of his game and improve that, because at some point he's probably going to be the leadoff hitter long term, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think to your point, it allows him to develop.
Yeah.
Kind of almost trial by fire. It's really what it is here, right? It's, hey, guess what? We all know that you need to work on being a little more selective. We're just going to force you to do it because you're the leadoff hitter right now, because we need you to be. And it's paying off, because it's forcing him to work on those things and make it a priority to be more selective. And he was selective tonight, and it paid off. Again, 2 hits, 2 ribbies, including the sac fly as well. I mean, just continuing to have a huge season.
I think it's it could be a little bit of a stroke of genius on Council's part too, because on the one hand, Ian Happ went down and you need to put somebody else in the leadoff spot. PCA is obviously the most logical choice because of his speed, right? And his emergence as a really good hitter right now. But he also could have just as easily have just thrown Nico Horner there, right? Nico Horner has seen experience from the leadoff spot and been good at it in the past for a couple of years under David Ross, and maybe a little bit under Council's first year last year, maybe. I don't know. Could be misremembering that, but I think it was mostly under David Ross. But he was good in that, and that's a ideal spot for him too, because he's got great speed and like a mastery of the strike zone that PCA does not have, right? So he could have done that, but I think it's turning into a good choice to put PCA there, because it's not a long-term thing right now. It's just a temporary thing while Ian Happ is on the IL.
Definitely. And I think too, by keeping Nico Horner down in the lineup, I think it just gives so much more in terms of just the depth of the lineup, right? I still remember the days of like Nico Horner hitting 2 back during that 2022 season when they really didn't have any other options, right? Now you can push him all the way down to 8th on a night like tonight, and he comes through for you when you need him most. Like, that's what Nico Horner does. He's a runners in scoring position machine. That's what he is best at. And unfortunately, Nico Horner doesn't get a lot of opportunity like that if he's hitting in the leadoff spot. But especially when you've got, a Dansby Swanson who is hot, kind of where things stand right now. You've got, a a fresh face in that 7 spot in Ballesteros, even with Carson Kelly hitting in the 5 hole, like you're going to have guys in front of Nico Horner more likely than not on base. And that's where he can just thrive. So to your point, maybe it is just a mastery by Craig Counsell to kind of just be pulling the right switches at the right times for these guys when they need it, and almost kind of lighting a fire, I think, under some of these guys without being like, hey, you're terrible and getting in their face, but just kind of pushing the right buttons to say, hey, you're moving up the lineup. Go do what you do best, and let's go win some ball games. And I mean, a couple of 2-run home runs on Monday night from big key players. Obviously, a triple from Tucker, and then the big hits here tonight with Nico Horner, and then obviously Justin Turner delivering in the walk-off setting. Also, speaking of Dansby Swanson, 2-run bomb on Monday. This guy has raised his batting average 65 points effectively since the end of April, like the last few days of April. And now his OPS is up to a 773 in that time period. Talk about just the streak that a guy like Dansby Swanson needed. And now, something that I think we as Cubs fans have talked about, we at Cubs on Tap have talked about over the years, he thrived in Atlanta hitting lower in the order because you had the guys in front of him that were going to do the big damage. Now the Cubs have that. Now all of a sudden it's like the best version of Dansby Swanson comes out because he's just so much better at hitting later in the order than he is earlier in the order, given his past numbers. And he's been fun to watch play baseball right now because, especially with an Ian Happ missing out of this lineup, who I think a lot of people would consider a leader on this team, a guy like Dansby Swanson hitting all the right buttons too right now just continues to I think make you and me feel better about everything else that's going on with a bullpen that's been shaky and a starting rotation that's been banged up. These guys are just getting the job done, and it's been refreshing to say the least.
Yeah, it's nice that Dansby is heating up right now too, because Kyle Tucker is pretty cold at the plate. You got like these guys getting hot at the right times, right, and picking each other up, and that's like what good teams do. The lineup is deep when that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you want Kyle Tucker to turn it around at the plate as soon as possible, because I feel like it's been a while since they've been scoring like 7+ runs consistently. But yeah, no, seeing Dansby make those adjustments, he talked about how he met up with his old hitting coach in Pittsburgh and made an adjustment and had like a light bulb moment and was like, oh, I should be doing that more. And then he just went on this heater. Could be that. Could be the fact that he has dad strength now that he's tapping
Absolutely.
into. So it could be a lot of things. But yeah, you like to see him have 17 extra base hits in the middle of May. You like to see him collecting multi-hit games, and then playing his usual elite defense, Gold Glove defense at shortstop. So, yeah, I think Dansby's is doing his part right now, and it's nice to see.
Indeed, especially given the nature of what he is to this franchise with the contract and the longevity of said contract, and kind of being, again, kind of one of the faces of the team. Whether it's statistically speaking or not, just based on what he is to the Chicago Cubs. Hank wants to know, who has a better catching tandem than the Cubs?
I really don't know. I know I would love to have Cal Raleigh on any of my teams, on the Cubs or on any of my fantasy teams. That guy's like 2 catchers in one. He is like hands down the best backstop in baseball, in my opinion, at least right now. But yeah, a duo though, I can't really think of anybody else. The White Sox have good catchers, low key, but they're not putting up the numbers that the Cubs catchers are.
No, they are not. But I mean, yeah, it's how fun has it been to see even Carson Kelly in limited work so far this season still carrying a 300 average and an over 1,000 OPS at this point in the year.
I can't get enough of Carson Kelly right now, man. I love his batting stance. I love how he just like leans over the plate. It's very like early 1900s batting stance, like dead ball era type stuff. Just leaning over with the bat, like right. it's perfect. And he's hitting like a bait, like an early night. He's just slugging everything. It's great.
He is a gem to watch. And even Miguel Amaya, a couple big hits on Monday as well. It feels like no matter which one of these guys are in the lineup, they're consistently producing. They're doing well behind the dish, right? I mean, you got to attribute some of the success the pitching staff has had to having good backstops and them playing good defense and calling a good game. And I mean, overall, it's been a lot of fun to watch on the back.
What did you think about Ben Brown's outing tonight, Ron?
I'm still convinced that Ben Brown is going to end up in the bullpen.
You think so?
I do. And I think a lot of it is just, it's based on, I mean, it's nice to see him not walk anybody, because to me, that's when he really gets himself into meaningful trouble.
Yeah.
And, when you throw hard, you're naturally, you're going to let up a home run here and there. That's just inevitable. But I mean, 5 1/3, 5 hits, the 2 earned. I mean, 6 Ks is great. I think his last 2 outings have been a lot better. I think if this version of Ben Brown continues, I feel a lot better about him remaining in the rotation. But I think in a perfect world, I mean, you get his 2-pitch mix in the bullpen, I think it solves a lot of issues with said bullpen because of what he brings to the table. But no Javier Assad, no Justin Steele, no Shota Managa. I mean, by default, he's got to stick there. I think he had a fine game tonight. I saw a lot of mixed opinions on Ben Brown's night on social media throughout the course of the game. But I think, again, I mean, you got to be happy when you get 5+ innings from a guy like Ben Brown, who's going to throw a lot of pitches because he does strike a lot of guys out. And then on top of it, no walks, which has habitually been a killer for him when he does get himself into that kind of trouble. I think Ben Brown overall had a pretty solid night when it's all said and done.
I would have liked to see him go further, and he could have. He only had 72 pitches when Counsell yanked him. He was in trouble in that inning. I think there was 1st and 3rd with 1 out, and Counsell just wanted Tealbar to come in because there was lefties coming up. But I would have liked to see him finish that inning and maybe go out for the next one, because he was pitching well until then. 6 Ks, no walks. I felt like he was attacking the zone a little bit better today. My theory, I think, is still holding up, that he is a warm weather pitcher. I don't think he pitches well in the cold. All those games in April that he was losing command of that knuckle curve, it was when it was cold out. Like that one great game that he had in April was against the Dodgers when it was warm. And then he started turning it around in these last 3 starts when they were under the, not dome, but the roof in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Today was like a warmer night in Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who did they play last? What was that other one? I was just looking at it. The San Francisco game. That was a warmer night. It was a little chilly that night, actually, but still. I think when it's cold out, he doesn't have good grip, like a good grip of that knuckle curveball, and then it doesn't have as much bite on it. And when he doesn't have that, that's his strikeout pitch. And when that's gone, he's just kind of screwed.
Yeah, I think you're 100%. Oh, excuse me. I think you're 100% spot on with Brown.
I would like to see him stick in the rotation, and he will for now. But yeah, that's a good point. Before this season, I was totally on the Ben Brown should be the closer train, and if Cade Horton is pitching well, and then Shota Imanaga comes back, and Javier Assad comes back, it's like, you know what? Maybe you could do that. Maybe there's still a chance for that.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have when we're sitting here kicking the tires on that as a possibility, right? And it's not even so much because Ben Brown has been bad. It's just because they have a bit of an embarrassment of riches when guys are fully healthy, and he has the ability to go between the rotation and the pen, as we've already seen in his limited sample size in Major League Baseball. Still Breezing says here that Brown's control is key when you don't have a third pitch. Without that third pitch, he's better. It's better in the pen. And I think that's a reason why, I think he's a good starter. I think he could be a great bullpen piece, though, because of that aforementioned knuckle curve. When you can go out there and just spike that thing into the ground as your strikeout pitch. And you can, rather than trying to sit around 95, you can really rear back and maybe get closer to 100. Just to me, that can play so devastatingly, and especially because right now, as a couple of these comments here mentioned, Merriweather officially out of the circle of trust. He's Scott says a borderline DFA. Jed isn't waiting around for him to figure it out in the majors, and Stoll followed that up saying Merriweather velo is down, no whiffs. Chef Boyardee with the meatballs.
It seems like he's hurt or something. Like he doesn't look right. Velo was down, wasn't locating properly tonight. I'm kind of anticipating an IL stint for Merriweather. They like him clearly. He's like one of those diamond in the rough guys that they pulled off they just took a flyer on. I think they pulled him off of waivers. And he has been good at times for the Cubs, right? That first year, I think it was 2023, he was electric. He had like 100 strikeouts out of the bullpen. So I don't think they're going to DFA him. They're going to try to figure this out and be like, and just, even if it's a phantom IL stint, I think they'll do that. But he's definitely not right now. He's not doing well. He doesn't have good command. He's walking a lot of guys, and it's been like this for his like last 4 or 5 outings. It's disappointing to see, but yeah, something needs to be done on that front for sure.
And I think there's no better time than now to do that, right? Like if you're gonna just phantom IL him or just IL him in general and say, hey, kind of just figure out what's going on. Like if something doesn't feel right, etc. Now's the time. This is the stretch of the schedule where you hope that a deeper team than most in the Cubs is able to keep rattling off wins, right? Tonight's win racks up at least a series victory. You have an opportunity for a sweep tomorrow at Wrigley. You got a day off, and then you got 3 with the White Sox over the weekend before 3 more with this same Marlins team down in South Florida. So now if you're going to do something like that, I think now is the time, and let Merriweather figure it out. Because I agree with you. I mean, he's also one of the few bullpen guys who's making over $1 million, and they've kept him around. And to your point, right? Like he was just a waiver pickup, and he's largely worked out. I really don't see a DFA coming either, but I do think an IL stint is very realistic in the not so distant future. And I think a lot of people need to remember too, the 60-day thing for Tyson Miller. I think unless he tweaked something and I totally missed it over the weekend, I will be brutally hands up honest with everybody. I was dead to the world this weekend as my cousin got married down in Atlanta. So I was out of town for the entire weekend as well.
Ron was too busy having fun to research what happened to Tyson Miller.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it was. What did happen to Tyson Miller? I don't even know.
He took a 107-mile-an-hour comebacker off of his leg in his last outing.
Nice.
So I think I don't know, possibly has a fracture in his leg or something.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, really can't catch a break, which is tragic because he was starting to pitch really well in his rehab warm-up with Iowa. He would have been a nice guy to have back at some point here in the near future out of the bullpen. I think that's just more of an opportunity for somebody like, say, Drew Pomeranz. I'm a big Drew Pomeranz guy. He was a staple on my fantasy baseball teams for years during his little run there in separate stints with the Padres. But I'll tell you what, man, they'll have to keep figuring some things out with the pen. But if their offense is able to come through and do again what they did tonight, I think things will be overall in pretty good shape. Still bruising here with another comment. He said, love Turner's hit tonight, but let's be real about this. Hit an 85-mile-per-hour slider that hung in the zone. He still can't square up velocity yet. And if he does that, he says he'll feel better with his continued at-bats. Completely agree. But you'll take a game-winning base hit when you can get it. And if Tinoco is going to hang a slider over the middle against a professional hitter who has been around for a long time and knows what to do with those, you'll take what you can get when you're the Cubs and in that kind of situation as well when it's all said and done. And Scott from Iowa says, White Sox 5, Reds 1 in the middle of the 10th. You hate to see it. Yeah,
at least they're playing a division rival. That's fine.
Yeah, it's great.
They can do that against the Reds and the Milwaukee and stuff, but
absolutely
anybody else, don't do that.
No, don't do that against the Cubs. Don't do that against anybody else. But if it's another NL Central opponent, by all means, beat the hell out of them. Speaking of teams in the White Sox division, Rich, I feel like we've got to talk about it. We got to give it some love and some attention.
My boy.
Our boy, as Don said a little bit earlier, Detroit versus everybody by his walk-off thing of beauty. 2 homers for Javi tonight in that win for Detroit, including the walk-off winner. Baseball's fun when Javier Baez is playing well. And he's also, I think it makes it extra fun this year because he's not just playing well at one position. He's playing pretty routinely 3 positions for the Tigers and producing at an incredible clip right now. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
He's like the Ben Zobrist of the Tigers right
now.
The
Detroit Tigers.
Didn't he steal a home run in center field?
He did.
Day too. I mean, he's just. I feel like Javier Baez needs the team to be good around him, and then he feeds off that energy. And now that the Tigers are good, and he's not the only one making more than $10 million on the damn team, he's tapping into that old El Mago energy, and it's good to see our old shortstop walking off. Man, that's not. It's not an easy ballpark to be doing that in either. The Tigers Stadium. He hit 2 3-run homers, and I added him to my fantasy team as well in my other league. That's lovely stuff. Love to see it.
I feel that because of his positional versatility, I picked him up in quite a few fantasy baseball leagues as well, and he is not disappointed. Actually, somebody tried to trade for him tonight after his second home run, which I politely declined. I do not want Yusei Kikuchi. Do not give me Yusei Kikuchi for Javier Baez. Not right now.
Yeah. If you're going to be solid high on him, you need something a little bit more than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Give me something real good. Otherwise, I'm going to happily hang on to Javier Baez. Still, with another comment says, how about Pete and Shu getting unbanned? Yes, today, big news in baseball. Pretty much every player who was banned, again, most of these guys or I think all of them now are dead, but all officially unbanned by baseball. Does it feel like a formality at this point?
Yeah, because Pete Rose is already gone. Like, if they wanted this to mean something, they would have done this while he was still alive.
Agreed.
I don't know. It's just kind of I can't get like excited about it. And the way they want us to, like the way they're presenting it, like in Rob Manfred's message, is like, look at what we did. Isn't this so great? It's like,
no.
Why did it take so long? I don't know. It is what it is. It's controversial and whatever. I don't have too much of a like strong opinion on this, but I just think it would have been better if you did it while he was alive, if you were going to do it at all, right? So
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I think we sit in the same position on the stance. Like, if you wanted it to mean something, it would have meant something when Pete Rose was still alive.
Yeah.
The fact that you just now do it when he's dead, it follows up here. Big old thumbs down. I agree. It's like, okay, cool, whatever, man. Like, you're dumb. Like, what was the point? At that point, just keep them banned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what is the difference at that point in time? It almost, as a Cubs fan, it almost reminds me, like, if I'm a diehard Pete Rose fan, I'd probably feel the same way, of the sense of like, why couldn't you do this when he was alive? Because I feel like that with Ron Santo making the Hall of Fame. Why did it take him finally passing away to get elected to the Hall of Fame as a part of the like golden era ballot or whatever they called it? But the guy couldn't make it in when he was alive. Like, to me, that's such bullshit. And, to see it happening and continuing to happen is garbage. As Scott says, Rob Manfred just needs to leave. He's the absolute worst.
Luckily, we know he is on his way out at, I think it's 2029 or whatever is when his contract is up. Unfortunately, I don't think Theo Epstein is going to be taking his place, because
I
now
don't
he's
think
a
so either.
minority owner of the Red Sox, which good for him. That's what I would do too if I were him. But I would love him to be the chosen one that he was meant to be and be the commissioner of baseball and make the sport just cool for everybody. But alas, we'll probably have another commissioner that's just a show for the owners. But we'll see.
100%.
We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, Theo was the chosen one, but he took the path of Darth Vader rather than the path of the chosen one for all of our Star Wars fans out there. A couple of other comments here. My dad says Jed has been good finding projects to fix. That he has. Hopefully they continue to do that because I think the bullpen could use a couple of those guys. In addition, he says, hey, Javi brought the Cubs PCA. He sure did.
That is true. Yeah, I'm not saying they should not have made that trade. Don't.
God, no. I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah, do not misinterpret this. We just love to see Javi Baez raking and getting back to his old self. You know, because all those guys that we traded are like, you know, Chris Bryant is like dying. His back is dead.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, it's nice to see at least one of those guys doing something because, yeah, like Riz had a couple of decent seasons in New York, but the injuries really caught up to him. And now he's not even on a roster yet in baseball.
Yeah.
Bryant cannot stay healthy for the life of him and looks like a shell of himself in Colorado. And for a while there, it was looking like Javi was kind of in the same boat in Detroit, but something has clicked, and maybe him moving around the diamond again is kind of working in his favor now, and whatever it might be.
What's Craig Kimbrell up to? Where is he at? That was another trade deadline guy from 2021.
I think he's the last I remember of him was getting DFA'd by Baltimore last year. I haven't recalled where he's at since.
Oh, apparently he's in the Braves minor league system.
I was going to say, somebody gave him a minor league deal, I thought, but I couldn't remember who for the life of me.
I just saw a headline from 4 hours ago. Is it time for the Braves to call up Craig Kimbrell?
Oh, baby. That's when you know things are going swell in Atlanta. So being just in Atlanta over the weekend, I was asking some pretty diehard Braves fans. I'm like, okay, how's the pulse? And everybody's like, they're below 500. We don't know how to feel. Things are not great right now. I'm like, don't bitch. I don't want to hear it. You guys have been really good for the last handful of years. Like, you've got a World Series in the last 5 years. Don't get too down now. You're only a game below 500 in May. Like, I think you'll be okay. But they certainly have some things that they're trying to overcome as well. Scott says here, it heightens my hate for Major League Baseball writers keeping Bonds, Clemens, and the rest of the game's best out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, man, Hall of Fame voting is just bullshit in general. Like,
I completely agree.
I try not to get too like caught up on who's in the Hall of Fame and who's not, just because I think the way that it works is so convoluted and stupid that it like doesn't even matter. Like, you might as well just have your own personal Hall of Fame. Yeah, I don't know.
Well said. I agree. The way I put it, and this is the argument I always present to people who don't necessarily agree with, the guys who were thought to have taken steroids and things like that not being in the Hall. And I say, well, to me, the Hall of Fame should tell the story of a sport. The fact that the era of baseball that has literally been deemed the generation that saved baseball not in the Hall of Fame is an injustice to the next wave of fans who grow up wondering what happened in the 90s because nobody is in the Hall of Fame from that era.
Why is the guy who leads everybody in home runs not in the Hall of Fame?
Right.
Why is the guy who the two guys who resurrected the sport with their home run race not in the Hall of Fame? It's dumb. It's dumb. It's kind of it just annoys me. It annoys the hell out of me.
It annoys me as well because even if they did take steroids at the time, it wasn't illegal. So what are we upset about?
The other point too is like, are you gonna like retroactively go back and analyze every single person who's already in the Hall of Fame and determine if they were taking performance enhancing drugs? Because that hasn't been done either. If the stance that you're taking is we're not electing them because they were impure players, well, then what about all the players that are in the Hall of Fame right now? Like, it's impossible to go through because imagine all the drugs that they were taking in the 50s and 60s or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's impossible to go back and be like, oh, that guy did. It's impossible to make the Hall of Fame what you want it based on that standard. So why are you excluding people? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well said, Rich. I am all on board with that. And this is a great question, and I think takes Rich us to a pretty good point in the show. Cubs sweep tomorrow versus a lefty. It's David Weathers on the bump for the Fish.
I don't even know who that is.
That's when you know things are good. Yeah, David Weathers, lefty.
His name is Ryan Weathers.
Oh, Ryan Weathers, not David Weathers. Same. But it is Jameson Taillon on the bump for the Cubbies. Rich, any final thoughts about the weekend, about these first two games against the Marlins before we do go ahead and look ahead to this final game of the series on Wednesday?
I'm just really happy that we don't have to go into tomorrow's game thinking that the Cubs could lose a series against the Marlins. Avoiding that was ideal. I was at the game yesterday. It was awesome. It was nice to see some dingers and Drew Pomeranz save. I kind of wish I was at tonight's game, though. That would have been amazing. But, and a series win is a series win. We take that. We like to see that against a last-place team like the Marlins. We just need to keep this momentum going over the next 2 weeks because this is the time.
Indeed it is. Rich, I'm right there with you. I wish I was at tonight's game because I will be at tomorrow night's game, wishing that I was there for the walk-off tonight. But hopefully we'll see a sweep and a well-needed sweep at that for the Cubs against the Marlins. But again, they have that opportunity. It's a 6:40 start, so this is not a 1:20 game. It's not a getaway day for the Cubs. Obviously, they remain put and wait for the White Sox over the weekend with an off day on Thursday. As we mentioned, it will be Ryan Weathers versus Jameson Taillon tomorrow on
get right bump. Game for Taillon.
Yeah. Game.
Needs a bounce back after the Mets roughed him up. I hate the Mets so much.
Don't we all?
But I kind of like this, though. You got Taillon on the bump tomorrow. Nice chance for sweep. Off day Thursday. Friday is going to be an awesome pitching matchup. You'll have Shane Smith against Cade Horton. I love that. The two rookie phenoms going for the Chicago teams. That should be a really awesome game to watch.
It should be a lot of fun. Yeah, two really good young pitchers taking the bump against their respective, I guess we'll call it in-city rival, despite it. We all know how people feel about the stance of, well, they don't play in the same league and all that. And it's true. It's true. It's not really a rivalry when it doesn't directly impact your standings on a night-to-night basis. I agree with you on the Jameson Taillon get right. I would love to see him replicate what he did in Milwaukee. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. I think something along those lines is perfect tomorrow. Maybe you can get 7 out of a guy like Taillon. Depends kind of how the wind's blowing and whatnot. It's supposed to be a little warmer, I think, tomorrow than it was today. So probably expecting similar weather conditions. Probably slight breeze in from center is my guess. If you get a hold of one, it's still going to leave the ballpark. Just do what you do best, Jameson Taillon. Doesn't have to be a big strikeout game. Weak grounders in play. Let the defense do their job. A get-right game, hopefully save the bullpen a little bit, especially with that off day, and then continue that momentum, as you mentioned, into the rest of the stretch, but especially into the weekend against the White Sox. We are due back on Thursday during the off day for Cubs on Tap, so be on the lookout for that episode. And as always, make sure to follow along with us at Cubbies on Tap on the socials. I am at Loose on Tap, at Rich_Ebbs. For Mr. Everwine over here, follow our friends over at Dinger Cubs on socials, and our Dinger Picks race has been electric thus far. It's more fun if you're toward the top. I am not, but I'm trying. We're trying to make a comeback here. And as always, follow along with all the other good stuff here. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. You know the drill. Cubs fans, you like friends. You got friends that like the Southsider. So do we. Send them to our friends. They can be friends over at Sox on Tap. Maybe we'll have a little crossover episode on Sunday after that series with our friends from Sox on Tap. And as always, ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on the socials. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button on YouTube. Follow along with the Cubs on Tap Facebook page as well, and the On Tap Sportsnet Facebook page as well. Rich, what do you say, buddy? Cubs win a series, going for a sweep. We get out of here the only way we know how. Cubs on Tap.
Yeah. Fuck the Cardinals. Justin Turner needed this walk-off. Go Cubs go, baby.
Go Cubs go indeed. Yeah, fuck the Cardinals and their stupid 9-game winning streak. I'm rooting heavy for the Phillies in that doubleheader on Wednesday.
Fugazi-ass winning streak.
Fugazi indeed. But nonetheless, let's go Cubbies.